came to get down, I came to get dirty, I came to get even.
Sup bitches? I'm reliably informed that I'm terrible at pimping my stuff. So here I am, pimping my stuff in what's hopefully an amusing way. If you want to interact with me and follow me, you can find me on Twitter @Grimasaur and @Mort_post for official announcements. Gina Carano's done a lot of things. She's provided a somewhat sexy body model for hentai artists who've been asked to draw dwarves in states of undress. She's played a good role in The Mandalorian of a physically fit, strong female character in the physical sense, without being made to overshadow the star, without being a Mary Sue. She's carried on a tradition of physically fit people getting action roles in TV and movies, a tradition that runs all the way back to the 80s, somewhat encouraging. Unfortunately, she's also said a few things and had a few political stances that were verboten. Let's be clear, okay, I don't agree with her, I don't share her political positions. I think the Jewish post, the comparison of Republicans to Jews, was overblown, hyperbolic, but not anti-Semitic. However, the anti-mask, anti-lockdown thing, promulgating those views, the doubt that she expressed over the result of the US election, these things do, I think, rise to the level of causing harm, and thus censorship of that kind of thing is justified under the harm principle. Is firing her justified? Not so sure about that. But then we don't know the other side of this. Has she had problems with people on set and so on? Is it more than just social media posts? We can hope so. But all we know about is the social media posts and the views that are expressed. But we're not actually going to talk about Gina Carano. We're going to consider things in a broader context. My therapist says that my problem is that I don't consider things in terms of the immediate action and reaction like so many people do. I consider things in terms of the later repercussions and the repercussions of the repercussions. So sort of second and third order thinking about events. And because most people are still in their reactive mode, it causes a lot of misunderstandings. But I can't help who I am. And what this is all really about, and many incidents like it, is the loss of a private life and a lopsided enforcement of what views and so on can and cannot be expressed. The loss of separation between art and artist, the loss of a work-life balance as work increasingly dictates to you what you can do on your own time outside of work. There are companies dictating to you what you can and cannot do outside of work, what kind of activity you can have on your social media, which is semi-private, not truly public, how you can dress even in some cases, conduct, even politics and things come into this quite often, usually one-sided, but these things can come the other way as well. There's no material difference between this and what Bible colleges demand of their students, which most people quite rightly see as unreasonable as well. Dress codes, no drinking, no premarital sex, those kind of things. And if you break those codes of conduct, you can be thrown out. And when it comes to companies, many of them are now overreaching into people's private lives separate to work. If you do something against the corporate code of conduct at work, I think most of us would say there isn't a huge problem here, though we might argue over particular cases. And the same with the Bible colleges. But this is spreading into every facet of our existence. Work is not life. Life is not work. There should be a distinction between the two. There should be a distinction between your public and private lives. And social media doesn't fully slot into either of those. And because everything that's happened has been framed around Gina Carano, at least in this instance, you probably agree with what was done, with her being fired for these points of view and so on. But consider it on a broader perspective. Consider it if the whip was in the other person's hand. What if you were fired from a job or a series or whatever, something that you worked on because you were a militant vegan, and that was plastered all over your social media? If you worked at a place that sold meat meals, like a steakhouse or something, if they fired you for your militant and aggressive veganism on social media, would that be justified? What if you were fired because you were pro-choice or pro-LGBT? What if you thought that the election wasn't rigged? Or you supported BLM and any of these things got you fired? Rightly, probably, you will say, but these are reasonable, progressive, laudable positions. But half the people in the world would disagree with you. There are plenty of people that don't think LGBT is valid or real, or that it's a sinful lifestyle choice. There are people who think that abortion is literally murdering babies. So a huge adverse reaction to you if your social media was all pro-abortion, pro-choice, then would they be justified in firing you for that? For being pro-LGBT, out and proud and flamboyant and constantly campaigning for trans rights, and this wasn't something that they believed in? What if your boss was a TERF? We've got people who are making ends meet by working minimum wage jobs and then webcamming on the side and being fired for doing adult work. Well, what business is it of theirs? Unless maybe they wear their work uniform while they're performing. Is that justified? I'd say not. Companies are always going to piss off at least half their audience with any of these kind of issues if they fire someone over them. It is quite persistently one-sided. It does tend to be one side of most of these issues that gets fired. Some of these things are protected, but then shouldn't your political affiliation and your political speech also be protected? Wouldn't it be better to reassert public and private life separation, a work and private life separation, including social media, so the companies can say, well, they didn't do it on the clock, so we don't care. We believe our employees have a right to their views and to express them outside of work. Wouldn't most of us be willing to accept that, save the most egregious or harmful, genuinely harmful views expressed, like calling for someone's murder or political uprisings of a violent type, or anti-vaccination, perhaps? Wouldn't that make more sense? To have that standard? Harm? Not just the expression of views, however kooky and stupid. You always have to think, what if it was my points of view? What if it was my more extreme points of view, or my progressive points of view that were being censored in this way? What if I were fired for something that I truly believed in? And you got to be careful what you allow, because inevitably it does come back around to bite you on the arse. A lot of right-wing channels were thrown off YouTube, and a lot of people cheered and said that this was a good thing. And a few of us cautioned that sooner or later it would be coming for the left-wing channels, more progressive points of view. And lo and behold, that is exactly what has been happening. Took a while, but now more progressive and left-wing channels like the Progressive Soapbox and many others are also being censored. And because people didn't oppose censorship when it was the right-wing points of view being censored, they now have no leg to stand on. and no real mechanism of protest to challenge these decisions. Just think beyond your knee-jerk reaction that you disagree with whoever has been cancelled and that their cancellation is right and just and proper, and consider how you would feel if the same thing happened to you for views that you probably rightly think are justifiable, great, fantastic, and that you shouldn't be fired for. Because if you can convince yourself it's justified in one instance, it's going to be justified by someone else in the other. Sang.
Do you like t-shirts?
Yeah, boy!
Do you like games?
Certainly.
Are you perhaps a little bit kinky?
Yes, quite.
Then buy one of our B&D t-shirts at Teespring. Teespring.com/stores/postmortem-studios. You want to be cool, don't you?
Does the word duh mean anything to you?